This series is all about cutting-edge architecture. Travelling far and wide across America, we showcase some of the country's most groundbreaking and stunning architectural projects and talk to their leading designers to uncover the incredible stories behind them. Welcome to America by Design. American architecture is world-class, and our By Design team of industry experts have selected some of the best architectural statements from around the country.
I love the show because it brings to the world what design is all about and how designers like us go about our daily work.
These stories are a deep dive into how they were created. There's not many opportunities that we get for the public to see that.
It's leading edge architecture combined with sustainability, and it's inspiring.
Let's get started with our first project.
The Liljestrand House was environmentally friendly before it was trendy. They were thinking about the environment and the space and how it interacted with Honolulu back in the 50s. What an incredible project.
The family has kind of left their imprint on the space, which I always think is great, when someone has kind of worn the building.
It was a home for living. Some of these details just blew me away. As architects and designers, looking back to play off some of these elements is really interesting.
I'm in the hills above Honolulu, heading for Liljestrand House. When it was designed, Hawaii had turned from an agriculture economy to a military one. And planes were getting faster, so tourism was booming. All this was an influence. Christy.
Mike, welcome to Liljestrand House.
Thank you.
The house was designed by architect Vladimir Ossipoff and built for Howard and Betty Liljestrand in 1952.
And I understand it's the best example of an Ossipoff designed house that you can walk through.
Yes, it is. We are now a historic house museum.
So nobody lives here anymore?
Correct. But Bob Liljestrand, the eldest son of the family who grew up in the house.
Who's also an architect?
Yes, correct. He often said that architecture is the product of the time, the place, and the people who made it. So come on in and let's go back to 1952.
Oh my goodness, Christy, this is what you call an aha moment.
Yes, it is.
So tell me about the people who created this space.
Architect Vladimir Ossipoff was Russian-born, Tokyo-raised, educated at UC Berkeley, came to Hawaii in the 1930s.
Oh wow, complicated guy.
Yes.
And the owners?
Howard and Betty Liljestrand. Howard was born in New York, raised in Sichuan, China, met Betty on the East Coast. They ended up in Hawaii in the 30s, meaning to go on to China, but they never did. They stayed here the rest of their lives.
Okay, also a kind of a complicated story. And I guess it's those complicated stories that are entwined in this house.
Yes, exactly. So for instance, Ossipoff, having been raised in Japan, was fluent in Japanese, so he was able to hire Japanese master carpenters to build this house. They had come over to work at the plantations. Mike, help me open the windows.
Oh, okay.
Here we go.
A little bit of 1950s technology. Wow, that's beautiful.
So Ossipoff also believed that air conditioning was evil and that you should work with the natural climate of the environment in order to cool a building, particularly in Hawaii.
Well, you've got these regular trade winds if you can just harness them.
Yes, especially if you have the skill and know how to site a building. Ossipoff was also the first of Hawaii architects to do so.
So Cheryl, Christy mentioned Japanese carpentry. I'm not sure I'm seeing it in the architecture though.
Well, for instance, take a look down this hallway at the beautiful way the light plays from these mullions that are just slightly offset from the plane of the wall. That repetition and procession is very Japanese. Then, of course, we also have this joinery where the header ties into the vertical and lets gravity do the work. It doesn't require as much in the way of mechanical fasteners. Take a look at this beautiful detail here.
Oh, look at that. That's
how
lovely.
Each shelf is just let in, again, to the verticals. And if you look around the house, you'll see many Chinese and other Asian antiques that they collected over their time and travels, compared sitting right next to this Eames chair, which was, at the time the house was built, a fairly new piece.
Yeah.
And people love them today just as much as they did then. That's the great thing about them. They are timeless, because good design is timeless. So this area was the realm of play, the whole ground floor. There was an in-ground trampoline right around the corner underneath the master bedroom.
Oh my goodness. Please tell me nobody jumped from the balcony onto the trampoline.
I'm not telling, but there was the ping pong table, and this was the family room where the whole family would gather when the children were smaller and where they would entertain their friends when they became teenagers.
Yeah, it looks like a 50s, 60s teenage pad. And what about that pool? That looks like a scene out of a Slim Aarons photo.
Yes, except Slim Aarons didn't have Diamond Head as the backdrop.
Fair comment. And then the fabulous, very 50s floating staircase.
Yes, those are very popular in the 50s, and many architects designed them. But the thing I really like about this one is the subtle way that the suspension is handled and the glass behind the lower portion of the stair, because that brings in the light and shadow across the wall, because this house is really all about the play of light as the sun moves around the house during the day.
Do you think you get that past code these days?
No. No. So whereas there was only one page of program for the whole house, Betty had 11 pages of instructions for the kitchen. She had a very specific and somewhat idiosyncratic idea of what a kitchen should be. For instance, one item that's clearly custom is this cooktop with this larger counter space. Over here we have a family dining table where the children had dinner. At the desk, it had a typewriter pull-out, drawers for her recipe cards, and well before its time, she had a mixer lift for her classic Oster mixer.
Fantastic.
The cabinets, as you see, are very consistent, but they have some unique features. For instance, there's a pull-out shelf. Looks like a shelf. It's really a ladder to reach above the refrigerator.
To climb up.
Yeah, don't do it.
Oh, no. Trudy, you knew the Lilljestrands personally, didn't you?
Yes, I had the very good fortune of working for both the Dr. and Mrs. Liljestrand. I was their house manager, their chef, and as time went on, I became their personal assistant.
Now, I bet you've got some favourite spots in the house.
I do. I mean, apart from the fact that I love all of the house, I do have some favourite spots, beginning, of course, in the beautiful master bedroom. Even as the doctor got elderly in his last few years, he never wanted a hospital bed in here. He always wanted to keep the complete integrity of Ossipoff designing this room. But one of his other really favourite spots in this house, let me show it to you, is what we call, and he called, the reading room. He would say that the bedroom is for two things only, so this was where he would read in the evenings and catch up on his correspondence.
It's a very personal space.
Very personal space, yes. It is a room that for me, I think he could still very much be in this room as well, for sure. Mike, give this door a little nudge.
This one here?
Yeah. What do you think of that? This is their music cabinet. They definitely entertained a lot, so the doctor would choose his music from his collection and he'd place it in what we call your 1950s iPod playlist. So the first records chosen would be for cocktail time, then soup and salad, main course, and the last ones would be for dancing in the living room.
Ed, the community has really got behind this property.
They really have. You know, it is so hard in Hawaii to preserve things. So we don't have a lot of examples of 1950s architecture that have been left alone. And we have to raise funds to help the preservation of probably the best piece of 1950s modernism in Hawaii.
So what do people get out of a visit to Liljestrand?
I think for every single person, it's something different. You know, they come, they hear the story, they see the house, and then that resonates with something inside of them personally.
So every once in a while, Howard would decide that things may need to change up in the house. He would make up a list, invite Ossipoff. I would walk through with Val and Howard, and it usually started out with no, and then no, and then absolutely no, let's get a scotch.
To me, what is really compelling about this house is that it's the story of a lifelong friendship. It's two clients, the Liljestrands, who knew exactly what they wanted. They knew how they wanted to live. And it's about an architect who listened and was able to give them what they wanted. And the end result was this magnificent home. But it's really about the story of the people.
Trudy dug a few things out of the archives for me, and this caught my eye. Dr. Liljestrand in his later years made little thoughtful notes called lucky breaks. Scholarship to Harvard, met Betty, Ossipoff, wonderful house site. I think his son Bob had it right. Architecture is a product of the time, the place, and the people who made it.
Sustainability is on everybody's mind, but we don't always know how to do it. This next story is a great example of how you can take a good idea and start to give it scale.
The concept of creating a space that is specifically designed for climate innovation is brilliant.
9-0 did an amazing job of using healthy materials, reusing furniture, and creating a clean, bright, and welcoming space.
Climate innovation is booming in the US, mainly due to some recent government initiatives. And here on California Street, San Francisco, it's ground zero. There's a gathering momentum to make this the Silicon Valley of climate innovation.
Nine0 is a co-working space and club specifically for people focused on working in climate. We've taken one floor, and it was a challenge. We had to design it, build it, and fit it out within 3 months. In my last company, we used Gensler all around the world for our build-out. So we had already built that relationship. They knew the sorts of things that were specific to the type of space we were building.
Yeah, and Amy, this is the talk of the town. This is the San Francisco HQ for Gensler.
That's right.
I've heard a lot about this space. You're the buzz of the architecture world here.
Yes, we're super proud and excited about this space. We believe it's a prototype for the future of work. Actually, it's a great sustainability story. This happened to have been the Pacific Stock Exchange previously. It has a separate MEP system, so we're actually able to get clean energy, all electric. We have operable windows, so when the conditions are optimized, we're able to open the windows and get fresh air in. We used all renewable materials, and then we actually brought over 50% of our furniture from our previous space. But really, from the way we work is where we're also able to innovate here, right? It's almost like a laboratory. So the space we just walked through before is called the Exchange. It's very social, buzzy. You could hear music playing. You saw a lot of lounge furniture. People that like to work in a cafe love to work there.
So that transition of the tunnel there, that fabulous
did you
tunnel.
feel it?
I did. I mean, the sound is just
Mhm.
completely different experience here.
Now this is where we're really collaborating. We've got team zones. As you get to the edge of the floor plate, you're seeing more individualized workstations. And then the third zone is in the back, and it's what we call our deep focus zone. It's really where your head's down. It says, don't interrupt me, I'm here to get stuff done.
Now, Duncan, back to you.
Yeah.
There's inspiration here, isn't there?
Yeah, when we toured the space, we got a lot of inspiration. Starting with the work zones that Gensler has here, we also incorporated into our space.
And this spot right here was a bit of an aha moment as well.
Yeah, it's actually when the conversation shifted, as I recall, to furniture. They needed to buy all new furniture, and that was their intention until we thought about Second Life furniture.
It was here where we started to see that they had brought in lots of different types of furniture, and it kind of worked.
Remember, commercial grade furniture is really made to last. It's incredibly robust, so it can have many lives. You can imagine in this moment as office and work shifts, there's a lot of available office furniture. So we made some recommendations to Duncan and the team with folks that provide and source Second Life furniture, which we thought would be really a great alignment with their values and mission.
Everyone in 9-0 is working on climate solutions.
So that must have impacted on the design brief for the fit out.
Everything we did, we wanted to minimize the amount of CO2 we produced or the amount of material we used. So everything we did was trying to reuse things or find sustainable ways to build out the space.
This project had its challenges. The customer wanted a sustainable solution for furniture, so they came to Reseat. We had to work with a very tight budget. We also had a very tight timeline, so everything needed to be installed within 4 weeks.
And here he is, Eric.
Hey, how you doing, Mike? Good to see you again.
Yeah, good to see you. Now, you guys have been going gangbusters. You've really taken off.
Everybody wants second life furniture now.
Tell me about this chair, for example.
Well, this chair is manufactured by Steelcase. It's a great high-end brand. New, they go for about $1,000 each.
That's right.
But on the second life market, you can get them for about 50% off.
Here's the other thing, is everything that we sell comes with a receipt ID. Underneath the desk, there's a little QR code. You just pull it up, and everything you wanted to know about the desk is right here. Who made it, where it's from, where it's been, photos of the actual desk and the space.
Every project that comes through Reseat, we actually give them this plan in place to move, donate, sell, renew, reorder your furniture from an easy-to-use dashboard.
Amy, it seems to me that Duncan really didn't have a choice. If he's going to live the brand, he had to take on this fit out like you proposed.
Absolutely. I mean, this completely aligns with the mission and vision of his company, but more importantly, all the companies that come to use this space, whose mission is to save the planet, they can use this space knowing that they saved a piece of furniture from going into a landfill, and it really aligns with their company's values and mission. So it seemed like a real win-win and no-brainer.
Now, Kyrie, Swig owns this building. It's a new purchase, isn't it?
Yes, it is, Mike. So we purchased 350 California Street last year in October. And just a few weeks after that, we hosted our very first climate event, Climate Week.
Yeah, and Duncan, he must be an ideal tenant.
We've set some really ambitious targets to reduce our carbon emissions by 50% by 2030 and go to net zero by 2050. And we can only do so much with our buildings ourselves. It's really imperative that our tenants also meet us halfway. And so we support everything that he is doing and really looking forward to more.
90 are getting ready to expand into this space, next floor up. And they'll be bringing with them their learnings that resulted in over 40 tonnes of carbon from heading into the atmosphere and the saving of over $4 million on the fit out of one floor, all while bringing the climate community together.
This season, we're proud to feature 5 affiliate awards. The Best Use of Lighting Award, sponsored by Ferguson, will be presented to one project that displays the most creative use of lighting. The Best Use of Technology, sponsored by Graphisoft, will celebrate one project that best utilised technology in its design. The Sustainability Award, sponsored by Green Building Initiative, will be awarded to one project that highlights exceptional sustainable practices. The Healthy Building Award, sponsored by Kime, celebrates a project that prioritised healthy choices in its design. And the Reimagine Award, sponsored by School of the Art Institute of Chicago, presented to a project with exemplary vision and imagination. Winners will be announced in the final episode of the season.
What a unique gallery for the middle of Manhattan. One of the things they really attempted to do was to create this peaceful, natural space within the city center, right? So lots of action happening on the outside, but when you walk in, it's calm and peaceful, and the materials speak to that.
The architecture really takes a back seat, and that's not something that we typically talk much about. The designer here had to use restraint to highlight the beautiful collections without overshadowing them.
Since 2012, Garde has had a major presence in LA, Summerlin, California, and Dallas, Texas. And now we are lucky enough that they have come here to New York. So now you're in New York, but what took you so long?
Most people don't think of New York as a place to come and retire.
People certainly thought, oh my God, you're crazy. You don't do this at your age. You're going to go to Florida or California, or, something on the beach. But think about it. I can wake up in the morning and decide, I'm going to go buy tickets for a play. I'm going to go to the Guggenheim. I'm going to stroll through the most magnificent park in the country.
And we can also get a senior citizen discount in the most expensive city in the world.
And I think, having lived here before, there's something about New York that just gets under your skin.
So I grew up in New York, and my mom was an interior designer, and I would often go with her to the D&D building, which is right where you guys are, which is such a terrific place for your gallery to be.
Yeah. The building also has a history and a charm about it that we've always wanted in our galleries architecturally.
We also kind of wanted to embrace this idea that we were going into a traditional old New York design district with our concept, which is kind of new and contemporary and about emerging artists, but bring it to a place that wasn't so obvious.
Right. We got really, really lucky. I mean, it was important for us to be on street level. We wanted to be able to be approachable and present, and that was much harder to find.
So this space feels so unusual for the neighborhood.
Traditionally, Garde has always acquired a space that has some architectural value to it, but unique, a sense of charm to it, because we represent the most amazing designers and artists. They deserve the very best.
And honestly, the architecture here did have to be uncovered. The space was in pretty bad shape, but as we started to unpeel some of the layers, we started to discover some really beautiful things, and it really helped us finalize the design of the space to what we have now.
It's also so connected to the outdoors. I love that. I love how you can see it from the outside and it pulls you in.
Our clients over the years have always come into our shops and said they could live in our spaces. And having that backyard, if you will, combined with the kitchen and all of this wonderful living space, we hope that the New York clientele will feel exactly the same way.
So you're really known for fostering emerging and exciting artists.
We have. It's been a passion of ours. We like telling the process and the story of those artists. It's also why we chose an emerging designer to help us execute the vision of this gallery.
Like Scotty and I being a husband and wife operation, Becky operates the same way. So our work with her was very personal, very collaborative, but her book, if you will, is still being written. And we hope that, like many of our designers that have become, if you will, household names, that Becky will have that same success.
So we've been working with Scotty and John for the last 6 years, and we actually make trips out to LA twice a year to source elements for all of our projects, because Scotty is the ultimate sorceress and finds the most beautiful pieces everywhere.
So as a designer myself, I always come to a project with a strong narrative or a strong ethos. Can you talk about that in terms of this project?
Absolutely. So with our design ethos, it's all about complementary tension. So it's about light and airy and dark and moody and bridging those two together. And I believe we accomplished that here, with the first floor being very light but warm and inviting, and then the second floor is very dark and sultry and sexy.
Yeah, absolutely. I imagine that designing a space like this is actually quite difficult because you have to create this envelope within which everything can shine.
We were able to accomplish that by thinking about foundational pieces like the millwork and how they're going to display all of the elements that they procure, but also keeping in mind that everything here is transitional. Having those core pieces in place that will speak to future makers and display their work beautifully was really key, top of the list for us.
Scotty told me this terrific story about your sort of move from the sculptures to jewelry. Could you explain that?
Well, we saw John and Scotty last year, and it was the moment that when they were thinking about coming to New York, finding the right place. And at that moment for her birthday, I gifted her an earring with the word "there." And it seemed like such a strong message for her because it was a part of that moment in her life that she needed to dare and to find the right energy to take that new step. And that's when she said, okay, now you dare to come to New York as well. So you create some jewelry for us. And I of course, I couldn't say no. It was such a nice question. And that's how the Dare collection was born.
We've been so lucky to find this location, this architectural gem, and I think we will continue to educate and inspire and be a conduit between our artists and our clients, Delphine, who of course has dared me to be here in the first place.
And while it seems like this chapter is only just beginning.
My feeling is, okay, you're in New York, I am back, baby. Watch out.
Which architectural project in the series do you like best? Tell us in 15 words or less in the Ferguson People's Choice Award. You and a friend could win flights to New York, staying 2 nights at one of Sonesta's 4 New York properties. Enjoy an exclusive VIP guest tour of the Ferguson New York City showroom and select a range of lighting and fans for your project, courtesy of Minka Group. To enter, go to bydesign.global. Most creative answer wins. Good luck! We hope you've enjoyed our look at some of the finest architectural designs from around America. Join us next time for more groundbreaking architecture on America by Design. For more information on any of the projects featured in this series and to vote in the Ferguson People's Choice Award, go to bydesign.global.